And this man is an expert because he knows what he's talking about because he worked in the lands department for years. We're very happy that, that he's here. Again, you can get his information and it can save you a lot. We're also blessed, we're going to use a brother and we're going to have a sister. We're going to bring up a wonderful sister. I met her a few years back. She came to Ghana and purchased land in the Brong-Ahafo region, and a beautiful region. And I'm so happy. We're also happy to have Sister Evelyn from the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. Come on up, Evelyn. Give her a round of applause. Very timely. We're thankful. The traffic is heavy. She said she was on the way and she came. And we're thankful. We need the sisters. Let's give the sisters a round of applause. Our mothers. Our sisters, our wives. So, this sister has invested in the Brong-Ahafo region. She came to Ghana 2009. And she was able to invest in some beautiful land. I'll let her come forward to give you information. Sister Nunet.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. I didn't really prepare to speak, but a lot of things is I'll be talking from experience. First, I want to congratulate Omani for his 10th anniversary, bringing people out here to Ghana. Just a little bit about what brought me here. I was living in Atlanta for 16 years, originally from, my parents are Jamaican. I was born in London, and I lived in Atlanta for 16 years. There was a brother that was he intended to move to Ghana, but he was doing a tour in 2008, and I came with that tour, and as soon as I came here, it reminded me of Jamaica. So, August 2008, I moved here with some of the groups that came 2009. We first came to Accra, and I didn't really like it, and I was glad that the plan was to move on to Brong-Ahafo. Brong-Ahafo is where most of the farming villages are. Most of the food comes from Brong-Ahafo. It's more villages and simple living naturally, which is what I wanted. The importance of living there from the different places that I have visited in Ghana is the ability to grow our own food. What I found was a lot of people may think that the foods that you eat here is healthier than the ones abroad. And the FDA and different agencies like that, it's here but it's not active. So they send chemicals over, and the farmers will spray the land with the chemicals, and a lot of them don't read. They're told what to do, like you put a certain amount of capsules and you mix it and then you spray your farms. So what I found was that a lot of the foods is being over-chemicalized. The idea of living in that region wasn't because I knew that, but then I realized the importance of it and teaching the people that they're killing themselves. But what it is a lot of the farmers are poor, or they want a better life. They're not poor, they have houses and they live simple living, but like anywhere, they see what the West is doing and they want to grow towards that. So it's fast money. If they spray their crops, they'll be able to reap more, and they don't know the dangers that they're doing to the people. So that was one of the benefits of living in Brong-Ahafo. and being able to farm our own food and teach organic. And because the farmers originally used to farm organically, permaculture and different things, they knew it. But just because of not knowing the dangers of what they're doing and needing to feed their families and grow, they use the chemicals that's been sent over by the West. It's a lot faster than having to hire a bunch of people. If you can imagine having acres and acres of land to farm, it's a lot quicker if you have spray that can kill the weeds rather than having manpower. So that was one of the things that I learned from being here, that I didn't realize that Africa has been affected in a major way as far as the Western way of life and what they have done. I find that people come here and they say how filthy it is and how people throw down politics and everything like that. And I remember when I was younger, in London, there was that problem. And they started having these signs, keep Britain tidy, and started having fines. So unless we realize that we were once in certain positions, then coming to Africa and seeing that it's not as developed as abroad, but it's for us to teach rather than looking at it and complaining about it. Because they've only just started the recycling plants, and it's the Europeans that come in. They cause the problem, and then they come and solve it, and everyone thinks that they're heroes. And everybody is thinking like, oh, these filthy people, but before they used to wrap their foods in leaves and things like this, right. So you can throw it on the ground and it's biodegradable. Right. And they haven't been taught in the schools, because it has to start in the school system, because they're the ones that are going to be growing with this new product. They don't teach in the schools what it does. It doesn't dissolve into the ground. If you give somebody a plastic sachet, they'll tell you, oh, just throw it to the ground, because someone will come and sweep. And it's because they don't know another way. So I've realized that a lot of things can be explained why Africa is in the situation that it is, and what our responsibility is as people that have lived abroad. And it's only, the last 10, 20 years that they started having paper bags or recyclable bags that you go shopping and you can, you start doing the recycling and all of these things. But it has to be taught here as well. And it's for us to, instead of saying the problem, it's for us to come and help. The other thing that I've experienced, when Benu comes, I think I've been around 4 of the groups that he's brought over. And I find that a lot of people are hurt because of the whole slavery thing, what happened to us as a people, and they don't when they're not received as brothers or welcomed in the way that they expect to be, it's upsetting. And that happened to me. I don't know whether anybody knows what a Bruni is, but it's like being called a white man. And at first it doesn't make sense, but from living here, it started to make sense why. I was explaining to a brother earlier that we come here and some of us may have a problem, and instead of solving that problem like somebody that is indigenous from here would do, they say, oh, I'll go back to America or wherever it is. The indigenous people don't have that option. So that's what we want, the rights of being welcomed back into the family, but at the same time we want to straddle the fence and keep that connection. We're not Africans. So I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from each other. There's certain things that happen here as far as the brother that just spoke, he was saying about land. If anyone has experienced about losing, like buying land and then it not being real, things like that happen abroad all the time, but when something happens, you go to court and you go through the process. It's not a thing where this country is terrible, I'm not going to live here. The corruption and things like that that people hear about, it's the same corruption, if not worse, abroad, but they do it in a friendly way to where they call it taxes and things like that. So when we decide that we're coming to help, a lot of the things is understanding how the people got into the situation that they're in and how we can help, rather than condemning them for not having the knowledge that we have. Our ancestors, we say that our ancestors suffered and all of these things, but then most people, they come, they visit one time, they go back to the luxuries of their home. It's not that Africa is for everybody to move here, that's not realistic, but to come and invest in a school or in a hospital or something, everybody has that ability. People spend like $100 on a pair of sneakers, and there's a family that they could have put a child through school. So there's these things that we come here expecting to be given because our ancestors have suffered, but our people are still suffering, and it's more what are we going to do to come together and build Africa like we built Europe and other places. When our fathers were in Europe building, we were building it for somebody else. We're building Africa for ourselves and our generations. So it's just realizing that we are different. I think that would help a lot of people. Being raised with wolves is going to have an effect on us. And if we don't realize that, we're going to constantly be upset thinking, well, we're African, it's in our blood, it's look at our skin, how can they call us this? But I know from living in the village where I live, I'm very different. I walk different, I eat different. The things that, walking bare feet, I can do it sometimes, but I wouldn't run around like the children do. Carrying water and the strength of the people is totally different. They can work from sun up to sundown. They live outside the whole day. They cook outside. Whereas I live inside, I'm like a cave person to them. So there's certain differences that we have to realize that we are different, and not to be offended if we are seen that way. Because I know even walking down in Accra, I can spot the people that are foreign. So if I can do that, then why is it so offensive when a Ghanaian can notice that you're different? There's something different about you. And it's that difference that make them call us Abrunis. I had gone off the subject, but one of the things that I was saying about people's experience going to Cape Coast, for example, it's very touching. Our ancestors did a lot for us to be here today, but I don't think it gives us the right to say how we suffered, because a lot of people are living in luxury compared to the people here. So what we consider slavery and living rough, a lot of our people are still suffering and going through these things. We have a lot of opportunity compared to the people here, and unless you live here, you don't really experience it. But getting land, for example, it's a lot easier for somebody from abroad to get land than even the local people. So we have to realize that we're privileged, and we don't want to be treated like African, to be honest. Because if we were treated like a local person, I don't think a lot of us could stay here. So it's about bringing what we can bring and learning from them. We need to learn the foods again, things that are poisonous to us. I was just talking earlier about when I first came, in the village you don't have street lights like here. So walking from where I live to the main village, when the moon isn't out, it's pitch black. And for me, the immediate thing to do is switch on a flashlight to see. But what I've learned is the local people, they can see. They haven't been pampered to where they've lost their natural senses. So just basic things like this, if we want to, not everybody cares. Like some people like the way the West has trained them to be. But for those that feel that there is a connection that they want to make and feel that there is something missing, then they have to be willing to learn from the people rather than come and think that it's them that's going to be teaching and they know best all the time. One of the other things is money. A lot of the people here think that people from abroad are just loaded because the streets are made of gold and all of this stuff. A part of that is our form. From being with the group, there was 1 year and a sister was throwing money out the window. And I know that if I was a local person, if I'm going home to my family and explaining my experience, I would think that the people from abroad to be throwing what I'd make in a day out the window, it's like money must grow on trees. So I think that our behaviors, we have to realize what we bring to the table and how we are forming Africa and how they receive us and how they see us. The land, unless people have specific questions, where I am, the chief has opened up to, it's 50 acres or just over 50 acres he has reserved for the diasporans. But what I find is I have the conversation a lot and I have no problem with that, but unless somebody is really serious about getting land, like you can see me after, but to discuss it, unless you have questions, just to let people know that land is available for people if they want it. I'm not sure if anybody does have anything.
They can accept it.
Oh, okay.